Ooh, cool. I think we're live.
All right.
So, how's it going?
It's going good. Been a few weeks since we've done this. The last episode I did was with John Hoosier. You're
The
on
first
tour.
episode I wasn't on.
I know you finally missed one.
I know I did what, 118 consecutive episodes and then missed one.
Yep. How was tour?
It was interesting, man. It was not really a long tour, but long enough to get in the way of me being able to do the show. Um, but it was fun. We just did some Midwest shows, South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Chicago, Illinois, I guess. Um, but yeah, so it was a good time. We one of my bands, Glutton for Punishment, toured with actually bandmate in a couple of other bands that I'm in has a different band that I'm not in, and we toured with that band. It
Okay.
was a good time.
Did you by chance see the episode that John was on?
I did not know.
Man, let me tell you, he brought his A game.
Did
He
he?
had like images and things like that. It looked really nice.
So
He
are you
made
saying
us look bad.
I'm about to get replaced or what?
I think we both are. Yeah. He was good. But big thanks to John for doing that. And then last week we didn't do an episode, and I can't remember why. So
What was last week?
I don't know. Last week there was like three books that came out. I don't know why we didn't. Oh, it's because we both went to see Endgame.
That's what it was. We both went to see Endgame and we went at different times. I was hoping that we could do a late episode so that we could do it after I got out of Endgame, and you were hoping that we could get done early so that we could do it before you went to Endgame. So our Endgame showings just conflicted and didn't line up
Yeah,
correctly.
like if we would have done it like I think Eric could have done like about like an hour later than normal, and then I was trying to get out about 15 minutes early. So yeah, sorry, the gigantic movie took the spotlight for us on Thursday.
And spoiler free, what did you think of Endgame?
I really liked it a lot. It kind of closed up everything pretty much, and it was like for a 3 hour movie, it didn't seem like 3 hours. I
Yeah.
never I never had like the bathroom problems that everybody was like saying was gonna happen. Like, oh,
Oh,
don't
I
get
did.
up or drink anything. You're gonna have to go pee and you're gonna miss something. I feel like there's parts I could have missed. I would have been okay. Definitely like the big scene, the end, the big final battle or whatever you want to call it, if you will. I wouldn't have wanted to miss any of that. It was pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I
But
had to pee for the last like 45 minutes or so, so it was pretty rough to get through, but I stuck it out.
you know, so I went with some friends, and I never know like what their plan is with anything. And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go get Indian food," and I was like, "Okay." And I love Indian food, just so you guys know. But I was like, "Man, if I eat too much of that before a movie, that could be some trouble."
Yeah.
And washed that down with a couple of sodas, which I did. I was just like, "Oh man, this is a recipe for disaster." But thankfully, no bathroom breaks of any kind. The Indian food did not derail my night, so
Yeah.
we were good.
Indian food is the best.
It is.
Um,
It's good. It's good stuff, man. They have a lot of Indian restaurants out here, and I'm a big fan. No one in my family likes it.
yeah.
Mm.
My wife and I like there's an Indian restaurant like 40-ish minutes away from us. We like to
Oof.
go when we can. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Endgame was great. And honestly, man, like, they kept talking about, I know like all the interviews, if you watch any of the interviews with the directors or actors or anything, they talked a lot
Oh,
about how this
nothing.
was the
I
the
watched so little of anything going into it.
oh, I watched a bunch of stuff afterwards. After the fact, I went back and watched a bunch of stuff. But they talked about how it was 22 movies in the making or whatever, like it was the 22nd movie in the Marvel universe. And, I mean, obviously we've still got some time, but we're coming up on, getting the first Valiant movie next year. And I mean, if we could get even half of what the Marvel universe has been, if we could get a 10 movie, um, universe between, Bloodshot and Harbinger and Exo Manowar and Ninjak. I mean, I just think that, you could think of how amazing, a Valiant cinematic universe could be. And we've seen it with some of the really interconnected stories that have come out, stuff like The Valiant, the first Harbinger Wars. There's a lot of those series that really bring the Valiant universe together. And if we could get some movies to do that, fuck, man.
I agree. I mean, and hopefully, Bloodshot is the start of like the Valiant cinematic universe, which is just like 5 movies planned right now. But even that's like crazy to think about. Like thinking about like how Marvel did 23. They're gonna do Spider-Man's gonna tie in and kind of close out their Phase 3. If we even get 5 movies, I mean that's gonna be nuts. So I mean, like for me, I'm excited. I can definitely say that I'm definitely excited for like Bloodshot. I think Bloodshot will be a good movie, and I just kind of think like you can't mess it up, right? You can't mess up Bloodshot, can you? Just a guy who goes around and just like shoots people. Like it's action. People love action movies. If it's heavy on action, I think it's a hit. So hopefully, fingers crossed, man. Get
Well,
up for Harbinger.
With Dinesh having been on set, I have a lot of optimism about the Bloodshot movie. And you know, Vin Diesel isn't a nobody, right? And I mean, he's done a lot of really like he's carried a lot of movies. And I think that if Bloodshot's script is even halfway decent, and the filming and effects and everything are halfway decent, just the fact that you've got Vin Diesel as the main character, I think gives us a really strong possibility that this could be a really badass movie.
I totally agree. And like
Hoosier says the
I'm
pacifier was amazing.
huh?
Hoosier is referencing how great he did in the pacifier.
Hey, speaking of the pacifier and John Hoosier, okay. So John Hoosier drew up a piece, like an art piece that was like Vin Diesel as Bloodshot as the pacifier, and gave it to Dinesh at Emerald City, and it was maybe the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. Because you guys
That's
might not know this, man. Like John Hoosier from Hoodoo TV, he's a bit of an artist, man. He's
Yeah,
got some talent.
he's a fucking amazing artist.
Yeah. And this piece looked so awesome. It was just Bloodshot as the pacifier. It was so rad. I was like, don't give that to Dinesh. Shit. Put me up.
Shit,
but
man.
but anyway, like I mean, I agree with all that stuff. Like Vin Diesel, like even like his bad movies have been profitable. So I don't want like a bad Bloodshot movie that makes a lot of money. Like I hope it's good, because we want more movies. We want people to look at the Valiant properties and be like, wow, like Bloodshot, like it just took the right person to step in and do it. It was a great idea. So why can't we do that with Harbinger? Why can't we do that with Exo Man of War and Shadow Man or any of these other characters? Everything always comes down to like story and execution. I think if it's good, people will like it. Hopefully, if you get the right people in there to do it. But we got to get that first movie out. And I don't think we're going to see anything until after San Diego as far as like any kind of like marketing and media. But it's really exciting, like especially when you think about like Marvel's kind of wrapping up their big thing. And the only thing we really know for certain is that like there's Spider-Man, and then we're just kind of waiting for like who knows what. So maybe it's time for Valiant, strike while they can, get some people noticing the properties, get people noticing Bloodshot. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna bring Hoosier in here. I think he's hanging out, so I'm gonna.
Like onto our podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring him in.
Do it.
Surprise guest, which is a surprise even to us. I don't remember his email, so he's got to message me that so I can put it in here. But yeah, I mean they've been talking for a while about how they're gonna do the Bloodshot movie, like 2 Bloodshot movies, 2 Harbinger movies, and bring it together in a Harbinger Wars movie. And if they do, that would be absolutely fucking phenomenal. And then, my big question would be like, there's been rumors that they hired somebody to write a script for Faith. Um, you
Well, I don't
know,
think it's a rumor. I mean, it was the person who was a writer on American Gods, like on the TV show.
okay.
So I don't think it's necessarily a rumor. I mean, I think that was reported, like Hollywood Reporter or Deadline, who had that.
Sure. Well, I just mean like there was talk of it, I suppose. There
Yeah.
was talk of having somebody write a Faith movie, and we haven't really heard much more beyond that. So I just wondered, like, are they going to try to do like Harbinger as a team movie and then spin off right into a Faith movie right away? Are we going to be able to see? A couple people have said that they have um, seen parts of, if not the entirety of the Bloodshot movie, at least what's done so far. I know who was it, John Rucker, that was posting in the groups about how he has seen the Bloodshot movie, and
Well, it's interesting because I followed up on that a little bit, and I saw that on, I want to say it was on ValiantFans.com. There were some people who had seen it, like some of the California people had seen it as part of like a focus group. I'm sure the focus group was just like the producer and the producer's friends, but maybe not. Maybe it was like something bigger. But they all had like good things to say about it, and that kind of leaves me with that same kind of optimism because I feel like if they like it, I'm gonna probably like it too.
yeah, I mean,
One of us has seen like 4 minutes of footage. I mean, let's just get that out there.
yeah, you know what the big problem about the fact that one of us has seen 4 minutes of footage is that the one of us that has seen the 4 minutes of footage isn't the gigantic Bloodshot fan in the room.
Well, I got no comment on that. But someone has seen 4 minutes of footage. In fact, I think someone else who might be coming on our podcast, if you got their email right, has also seen 4 minutes of footage.
You know what? You know what? No. Now, Hoosier, you're uninvited. Josh, you're also uninvited. I hate you
Oh,
both.
that's messed up, man. We go so back. We go way back, man. You gonna do me like that?
Oh, I can't. I can't tell you how much it kills me. I cannot even express to you how much it kills me.
But here's the one thing I would say though that like is good that in that you didn't see it is like for me like I saw it like on a little phone, with no CG or anything like that, like green screen stuff. So at least when you get to see it, it's gonna be like a finished product.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes me feel so much better. Jesus.
So
Oh, oh, fuck, man. I don't know. I, it pisses me off. I don't know. It doesn't piss me off, but it's very disappointing. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. It's the same thing.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I guess my whole thing is, what I was going to say is, when John Rucker had said that he had seen the movie, he said he didn't want to spoil anything, but you don't have to wait until the end of the movie um, to see that there's a larger Valiant universe than just Bloodshot. So that makes me think that there must be a cameo or some cameos of other known Valiant characters. And I just wonder if they're going to take the opportunity to spin more movies out of Bloodshot right away. I think that, I think one of the things that we saw with the difference between how Marvel movies work versus DC is DC came out and they said, we don't want to be Marvel. So instead of building the individual characters and then bringing them together as a team, we're going to do, maybe one or two movies and then we're going to throw a Justice League movie at you right away. And it really didn't work because trying to do that big team movie without giving us an opportunity to actually get invested in the characters, it didn't really work. So I wonder if they're going to, I think that one thing that we would love as fans and would follow that Marvel format would be to have the Bloodshot movie, let an Ninjak movie spin out of it, let an Exo Manowar movie spin out of that, bring us the Harbinger movie connected to the Bloodshot movie and build that Harbinger Wars movie, but also build unity, have an Eternal Warrior movie. Think about how awesome you could do with an Eternal Warrior movie set in the past. And then when a Unity movie finally comes around, you could easily just bring him right in and it would be natural.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And to me, like I look at that stuff, like how Marvel did it, and I think there's nothing wrong with that approach because the thing is, you're still getting that superhero movie that you wanted. Like if you're like, oh, I'm waiting for the Avengers before I watch Captain America or Thor, you're really missing out because those movies aren't bad. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's whatever your mileage may vary with it, really. Because like maybe you like those and maybe you don't. But to me, I'd rather see Valiant take it kind of slow and steady, do the concentrate on one movie and be like, you know what, if we can get these movies to happen and to work, hey John.
Yay, Hoosier.
Dude,
But
that
if they
bloodshot that we saw was so great. Oh my
Thank
god.
you.
It was so freaking awesome. It was like 10 minutes and
Uh-huh.
stellar. Oh, dude, sorry to interrupt, Josh, but like
no,
you were
you're
on that
good, man. You're
topic
good.
and I was waiting to get on. Freaking so good, dude. Like, oh, the best movie I think I've ever seen. Academy Awards and then some, dude. Like, dude, phenomenal.
I
Real
will
quick,
look through this goddamn computer.
all I was gonna say is like I think like there's probably more to DC's movies than like rushing to that Justice League that makes it bad. I mean, like
Sure.
I just watched Justice League for the first time like a month ago. My wife and I watched it, and we were kind of not very impressed with it. I don't know if necessarily you can point the finger at, well, we didn't have enough screen time for some of those people. Because one of my favorite things about that movie was the Flash. The Ezra
Sure.
Miller, I think who plays him, like I thought he was phenomenal in it. And I like Jason Momoa. I mean, really, like I just thought it was kind of a weak story, and I didn't think the bad guy was that great. But sometimes I think too many times people are trying to think like, well, we don't want to make our big villain the first thing that they fight. But at the same time, I thought like Steppenwolf was just rather a weak villain to like center the Justice League around. Like you couldn't do like 100 other villains. Like there's a whole ton of great villains in the DCU, and that's the guy you're picking on. Like that guy's not even in comics very often. So to
Yeah.
me, it was just like you could have done like so many things that like were from the comics, and I think that's one thing that makes Marvel work a little bit too is you can see exactly where the comics play into it. Even with like Endgame, and we can't even go into that kind of stuff, but you can see lots of stuff in Endgame and be like, I know the comic, some that thing is coming from, like that comic is referencing. And I feel like with DC, it's like you don't really know that. Like you just kind of feel like, well, they have the characters there, they don't really want to have them tie into the comics. And so for me, it's like if Valiant does this, don't shy away from the comics. Try to embrace what the comics have given to the story elements because we like the comics. You can make that story though something that the comic reader likes and the movie viewer likes. So that's all I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say as a fan of the Marvel movies, I'm not that great of a fan. I'm a big fan of the Marvel comics. I haven't read a lot of Marvel comics, especially not older stuff. I've read some recent stuff here and there, but really few and far between select little things that I've read. And even not having read any Iron Man comics, I've never read I mean, I've read a couple of issues of Captain America here and there. I've read zero Scarlet Witch or Vision or there's so many of those characters. I've read tiny bits of Hulk here and there. But even without knowing the characters from the comics and not having any of that information, I still am something that I noticed in Endgame, and I think that this is something Marvel has done really well all the way through, and that DC didn't do in their movies, is, even in a movie as big as Endgame, you had moments that were just little close-ups on a character's personality, right? Like, and why a character is acting the way they are in a movie. In the DC films, it felt like they kind of just expect you to know, like, I get that they didn't want to rehash the exact same origin stories that we've already seen for all of these, for Superman and Batman 1,000 times. But at the same time, like, just assuming that we know everything about these characters and not giving us more to go on ended up making the movie feel empty and directionless and soulless, and it was just a series of events, not really a story. And Marvel has done a really good job of not doing that. So I think that if we're able to, if we're able to get a Bloodshot story that feels that down to earth, and we, kind of can relate to Bloodshot as a character, it won't matter if people have read the comics before.
Agreed.
Absolutely agree, guys. I got DMG's website pulled up right now, guys, and I got there's some cool stuff here when you look at the in development. And this is one thing I posted, I think on Valiant Fans, is seeing that a Archer and Armstrong film is actually considered in development on DMG's website, where I know that this is news that came out by, I think, Hollywood Reporter a while back, but having a couple names attached to it, Terry Ruscio and Ruben Flesher, however you say their name. Some decent credits already there kind of coming along with people coming into stuff. And there's already been some casting news of Harbinger. And I know I've heard you should follow Beanie Fedelstein, who is, what's her brother's name? Jonah Hill's sister.
Yeah.
As potentially being Faith. So some stuff connected there. I'm, dude, pumped up for whatever. I'm just happy we're getting some characters that we know and we love, right? I mean, that's kind of where it comes back to. But we're hoping that we get some good stuff.
You know what's funny about it, though, and Hoosier will know where I'm talking about with this. So we went to a panel at Emerald City that was a producers panel. So they had people from like The Expanse on there. They had Chris Robertson, who did like iZombie. Yeah, I mean, they had a whole bunch of people. They had Dinesh and Hunter Gordon in there. And they were talking about how like people had like would try to pitch Archer and Armstrong and be like, Archer and Armstrong is the story of a rookie cop in Archer and like a old cop in like Armstrong, and he's just like, what the hell is this shit, or like,
right?
Exo Manowar is a guy from like World War II, like people who like, and this isn't like comic people or like the Dinesh trying to do. It's just like Hollywood people who are like, oh, you guys have these properties. Well, what if like this is how we put the change from like the comic side to the movie side? It's pretty wild stuff, man. Like, it's because it almost makes those characters not even the same thing anymore.
That would be really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like trying to turn Exo Manowar into Captain America.
But yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It literally sounded like you were pitching Captain America Iron Man as one person. It was horrible.
Why have one event? Well, why have two Avengers when you just have one?
Right. Yeah, and then throw in, might as well throw in Green Lantern in that too, right? Because it's kind of extra power, space, galaxy. But yeah, it is interesting how people try to change it so much, and you can see that with a lot of media in these days. How it's like it is that like it's completely changed, But I believe that's where Marvel's done pretty good with what their properties they have, and give it to what it is. DC's trying real hard to keep that too, and so they're not trying to change it too much, which at some point could be to a fault if you're not willing to kind of give a little bit, because there does need to be some give and play. It can't be just a storyboard directly over. It just doesn't work. It's two different mediums. So yeah.
I think this is, one of the hot button topics for a lot of people is changing the race or gender of a character from what they were in the comic. And I think that there are things that you can't change about a character without making them a completely different character. But sometimes there are things that you can change and it doesn't really impact things. Like, I think that you can have,
Momoa or Aquaman not be some blonde, short-haired white guy.
Yeah, that's a good example. You can definitely have an Aquaman who is, of,
Pacific Islander.
Pacific Island heritage, right? Like that makes sense.
He worked. Like, as much as I don't like his execution of being kind of a bro, he looks like he's a big ass buff dude. He does the action scenes really well. He looked really good at the very end of Aquaman in like a suit that looked very reminiscent of like what Aquaman looks like. So I think like that's a good example of it where it's like you can change it and it can work. Like Jason Momoa totally works as Aquaman.
Well, that one has
actually, there's that logic behind it, right? Like, I mean, you're thinking Aquaman is a character that deals with the sea, and you're going to have him have heritage of people that live on islands. That makes perfect sense.
Well, and he's also two different races in the comic book too. So the comic book actually there doesn't make any sense because he is Atlantean.
The only thing is like there's no one in Atlantis that looks like him really, but like I think the way that they made his dad be, the different thing that make like another Pacific Islander. His dad was like Jango Fett, which is awesome too.
Right.
But like, I mean, like to me, like it totally works. Like you can have that change. It does. You don't always have to just be like, well, hey, if we're making Justice League, we really got to find that black character. We're just gonna make Cyborg a member now. And I love Cyborg, but to me, it was like he wasn't that cool in the movie. But Aquaman's pretty cool. Like he's pretty likable.
I mean, I know people got upset with Domino, right? With Domino on Deadpool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one, I think that was just crying to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any problem. Like, Domino doesn't have to be a specific race. I think the same thing with Bloodshot, honestly. Like, you could have someone of any race play Bloodshot. I mean, we've got Vin Diesel, and he's someone of mixed race, and I don't think it makes a difference at all.
I think that's a good point because to me, like, obviously, like, Bloodshot having, like, the pale, like, blonde skin, like, he wasn't born that way, like, he was made that way. And you could have a black actor who undergoes that. He could be a part of the story where he's got the white skin now. Just like, Viet Man from Bloodshot Island, like from the Bloodshot Squad. And one thing I always thought was really interesting about Bloodshot is I feel like you can look at some of the VEI times of it and you can see where certain artists have almost made him look like a man of black features, but with the pale white skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, like to me, it's like he doesn't have to be anything really. He's just he's just Bloodshot.
Well, and we'll go into this, but I mean, one of the things that I think that how well it's being executed is up for debate. But I think that that's one of the things that Bloodshot Rising Spirit is exploring right now is that we don't even know who Bloodshot is, and at that point, especially, Bloodshot had no idea who he was. So Bloodshot could literally be anybody, right? He can he could be a biker, he could be a cop, he could be a soldier, he could be anything.
You know what? There's so many different backstories thrown into the character. He could actually be me for all I know, because I mean I've seen so many origins for him.
That's what I'm saying.
You have the physique, I'll tell you that much.
I do, yeah.
Josh Bloodshot Rathbone. Josh Shot. Blood Josh. Oh, cripes. All right.
Well, and then to note, Vin Diesel is of mixed race himself too. So
right. Yeah. It doesn't have to be Chris Pine, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't want Chris Pine in anything. I'm not really a fan of him.
Can I just say I'll take Idris Elba like almost as any role? That dude's freaking phenomenal right now.
I want to see him play Batman. I've been saying for years that I want to see Idris Elba play Batman.
I want to see him as Bond, dude.
That would be cool, but I don't care about Bond.
Just because he's such a good actor, he could be Bond, but yeah.
And Batman.
Yeah, and Batman. He played one.
I'll probably.
Ford says Bloodshot could be in a heavy metal club, and I want to see that movie. But well, speaking of all this stuff, let's get into books. We've got some books to review. And since we're talking about Bloodshot, Bloodshot Rising Spirit #6 came out. Like we said, for everybody watching, I mean, we are going to go into spoilers. We're talking about 4 different books. We're going to be talking about Bloodshot Rising Spirit #6. We're going to be talking about Fallen World #1. We're going to be talking about The Forgotten Queen #3. And there's another #1 we're going to be talking about.
Punk Mambo.
Punk Mambo #1. That's it. I read that a while ago, so I forgot about that. But so we will be getting into spoilers in these. But okay, so Bloodshot Rising Spirit #6. This book has had so many creative changes. I mean, we're 6 issues in. We've had like 5 different artists. We have had 4 different writers now. Yeah, I mean, this has been crazy to see all of the turnover on this book in such a short span. I'm glad that we're still getting the book and they didn't just completely cancel the title. I wish that we got some more consistency, but I'll tell you what, every time that a writer leaves a book at Valiant, they seem to turn to Elliot Rahal, and then he just knocks it out of the fucking park. at least to whatever degree it's possible. Because I felt like on this book, he came into a story that was already over halfway done being told, and he still managed to kind of I feel like he pulled the book back on track. And then we also got Regs Morales, a former VH1 Valiant artist, coming in on art, and I thought he did phenomenal. So honestly, I think that this is probably the best issue of the series so far.
Man, that
That's
one's
not saying much.
I that one's hard to answer because I feel like when they had the fight against the hardcore, I did like the fact that we did get a little bit of the Valiant universe added to the issue, but at the same time, like I think the thing that is really hard about this book is that we're just still within another issue of like tons and tons of like fake memories and fake personalities, and it's hard to know like what's going on. I do think it was well written. I will say that. I do think that like the art was good. So, but I mean, at the same time though, like I feel like I've already checked out of this title just because I don't feel like this issue was that much of a change from some of the other ones. It's just more of this of what we've seen previously. But I will say, at least with it, it was written well and it looked good. So even if it was kind of like the same kind of song and dance that we've had prior, it's a little bit better of that song and dance.
Yeah.
Agreed. I looked at I guess the synopsis of number 8, and it says a definitive Ray Garrison issue in that, and so that makes me kind of want to continue reading. What we have 6, 7, and then 8's coming out. But yeah, it's just like a Groundhog Day meets some like Moon Knight guy with multiple personalities, and it changes every time. And I don't know. I'm ready to move past Project Rising Spirit and see what's coming with. I'm looking ahead. Seeley, man, I'm ready for Tim Seeley, and hopefully he does that hack / crossover I asked him about.
Well, and and the nice thing about that is like this weekend is free comic book day, so at least then we can get a little bit of a glimpse of as to what the future of Bloodshot is.
Yeah,
I haven't read the free comic book day issue yet. I have the digital of it, but I haven't looked at it.
Hoosier, did you read that yet?
Not yet, no.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. Usually I'm the one that doesn't read the previews. So, yeah, I read that free comic book day issue right away when we got the digital copy of it. I dove into that motherfucker immediately because I knew that this was a glimpse into what the future of Bloodshot's going to be. I mean, obviously Rising Spirit has been a fairly short series. It'll only be 8 issues when it's done. But Lemire wrote the character for a couple of years. I mean, a few years, right? Almost 4, something like that. He wrote the character for a long fucking time. And so I think that there's every possibility that with Tim Seeley coming in, depending on how he enjoys writing the character and what the reception is like, I think that there's a good chance that we could be getting Tim Seeley writing Bloodshot for a very long time if it's anything like Lemire run. So yeah, getting that free comic book day issue, I jumped in immediately, and I'm definitely excited for it. But I don't want to overshadow that we are getting Elia Rahal and Regs Morales giving us the best Bloodshot story they can in the context in which they're working. And I think that it did work. Was it a perfect book? No. And was there more of the same from what we've gotten from previous issues of this series? Sure. But I also think that Elliot has done a good job in this issue 6 of bringing in some other storylines. We've got that fired scientist who's now sleeping with the military dude, and they've both got their different agendas, and she's trying to fix that. And now they're going to rush Bloodshot back out into the field in the next issue. So, and then we got the idea that Ray Garrison is a blind computer programmer who works with a whole bunch of other blind computer programmers, and they're writing the backstory for Bloodshot. Like, I don't know. I thought that there were a lot of really interesting elements that were brought forward in this. And I know that there are only 2 more issues to pay them off. But I think that this is one of the things that Elia Rahal does so well. I mean, when he came onto Quantum and Woody, it was kind of a goofy, weird book with a little bit of a family element. And he dove headfirst into the brother aspect of the characters without leaving any of the other best parts of the characters behind. And it turned into some of the best Quantum and Woody issues I've read, right up there with some of the best stuff from the Asmus run. And I think that, even though we're only getting 3 more issues and or 3 issues total from him, and a lot of us are ready to move on from this book, present company included, I do think that this issue was about as good as it possibly could have been, given the context. For me, I have a hard time scoring this. I want to give it a really high score. So I think that probably the best I can do is a 3.75. And I'm going that high because I like Elliot, and I do think that the art was really solid. The only reason I can't go higher is because of the issues the title has had so far and the problems that Elliot and Regs inherited.
Yeah, and for me, I'm a bit lower. I'm going to go in about a 3.25, and I almost feel like it's more closer to a 3. But I think a lot of the problem with me is that I'm kind of checked out on the title. I don't have a lot of enthusiasm for reading it as it is, which it really stinks when you try to be objective with a book that you read once a month. They try to give it a score. But yeah, for me, I'm kind of looking past this right now. I hope Elliot can deliver really 2 really good issues just to finish this run out. But I think for me, I'm just waiting for September to hit.
Yeah, having talked to Elliot at Emerald City Comic Con about this and how he's going to be taking it over, he did kind of say that he's got to give it a couple issues to kind of reestablish where it's going, and that he did say the next couple issues, the final, we're gonna be good, just because of the process he was having to do to go with it. And I'm gonna take the high road and not give a score on this book, though.
You motherfucker. All right, so let's get into Forgotten Queen number 3, and then we can go into the 2 number 1 issues. Forgotten Queen, I think that I do like the writing on this book, but I really honestly feel like the strength this whole time has been the art. The art, I feel like, even though it's not necessarily my absolute favorite comic book art style, it's been so solid and consistent that I feel it really deserves to be called out in a positive way.
And Kano covers too, dude. Gotta love those.
Yeah, no complaints.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I thought this was a very interesting issue because it basically says that the Forgotten Queen, Vexana is she's related to Galad.
Which is she?
Well,
is Galad her brother, or is he her brother?
There's something about her that makes her immortal, and the only other really immortal guys who've been around forever are the Anikata brothers.
So she was exposed to the boom, though. Could explain that away. It doesn't mean they have to be related.
Something's there, where whether we get more of it fleshed out or not. But to me, I thought it was a really interesting thing, and I'm not necessarily against it. I think for me, I like the idea that if she is related to them, they have a sister who's completely evil, whereas all of them are generally really good people. Galad is obviously this defender of the fist and steel of the earth, and Armstrong, even though he's got kind of a soft heart, a big heart, but he's a warrior poet. And fighting's not even his thing. Really the worst of them would have been Ivar, and even then Ivar is not even anywhere close to being a bad person. But to me, I think if it really is stated now that Vexana is their sister, I kind of like that dynamic, and I'm not gonna lie. My only thing is, let's just not make a whole bunch of immortal characters. If Vexana really is related to them, let's kind of stop it right there. Let's not make it so that there's a whole bunch of other people we don't know about.
We can't have 84 siblings that are all immortal.
She's got a half cousin who's immortal, but she lives in South America. And then there's a weird cousin that just hangs out with penguins. I don't want to know about any of that kind of stuff, just her. Call it good, and then. But I think the best thing about this series, not even that revelation, is just that I do kind of feel like they took a broken toy and made it better. Because I would never have thought that the character could be really usable after Unity, and I've actually liked these last 3 issues. It's been enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm dubious. I don't know if that's the right word for what I'm thinking, but I'm suspicious of whether where this last issue is going to go, is it really going to be that Vexana is actually their sister, or is it going to be something a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more colloquial, like, ah, he's your brother, because like you're basically related because you're immortals and you've experienced so much of the same things, or are they actually related? And if they are, I'm okay with it as long as we get a really fucking good explanation.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Yep. And I'm getting too much Hela vibe with her being, Thor Ragnarok kind of piece there. But kind of go off of what you were saying, Eric. Art on this book has been great. I have enjoyed the art quite a bit. And I do like kind of like messing with the mythos a little bit, getting some deeper stories behind some things. And then makes me really want to go back and read that great Unity arc with her in it, and see if there's any things there that can kind of tie some of the breadcrumbs together.
The last issue has a lot of work to do. If I'm okay with the idea that she is Galad and Armstrong and Ivar's sister. I need a really good explanation. So there's a lot of heavy lifting.
At least she got to hang out with Dracula, though. I mean, that was pretty cool.
Right?
Pretty much made him Dracula, didn't she?
Yeah, it's kind of like,
She made him into a badass, at least.
Yeah.
So
this
is
is
like
book
good
I've
company.
been pleasantly surprised with, to be honest.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised.
For me, like, this book isn't perfect, and like I said, I mean, the art style isn't my favorite ever, but I do think it's been super solid on the art, and I think the writing's been the same. I think that there are a lot of like well developed expectations that have been subverted. Like, I really expected, that chick whose name I can't pronounce, who let the one dude die and then went down and dove for the armor herself and all that, whatever the fuck her name is. I really was expecting it to turn out that she was that one chick that Vexana had fallen in love with, and she had found a way to be immortal or something, and whatever. Like, I thought that there was going to be some reveal there. Like, it seemed like it was hinting toward that, and then it was like, well, no, I'm like her this great granddaughter, descendant, or whatever.
We talked about that when we reviewed issue 2, and I thought the same exact thing, where it's like, oh, that's going to be like Warmonger's like ex-girlfriend somehow still alive after like 800 years or whatever. But I'm glad it isn't. I'm glad it's just like a family member, and we don't have just another immortal. One more than we know about now.
Yeah, and Tor throws it out. Could be a half sister of a father's side or something like that. Which, yeah, you never know. I mean, when it comes to those days, there's lots of half sisters and half brothers that played all the kingdoms and Egyptians and everything back in the day. Caesar's half kids and all that stuff. So I don't know. Makes sense. I would buy it.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what issue 4 tells us, and what we get out of it. It's like I said, there's a lot of heavy lifting left to do. But
what did you grade it?
Well, not with all my questions notwithstanding, I think just taking this issue as its own, the art's super solid, the writing's super solid. Like you said, Teeny Howard has taken a broken toy and fixed it and made it even more fun than it was in the beginning, than we ever thought it could be. So for me, I think that this is a really solid book. I'm going to give it a 4.25. And I do think that also this is one of those books where, I mean, I don't know how the last issue is going to shape up and how much that's going to tie into the rest of the Valiant universe, especially if she is, the sister to the Immortal Brothers. I think that so far, this has been a really new reader-friendly book, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I would say that too. And for me, I would actually go a little lower than you. I'm looking at this book as a solid 4. It's been a fun read, and I think I'm just always very optimistic with it, because even though like I've liked the first 2 issues, I'm still kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off, and I'm waiting for me not to like it, just because I don't like that Unity arc. I didn't like the character, but I've liked every issue so far. So I think at the end of the day, unless the next issue is just absolutely terrible, this is a win-win for me.
Yeah, I think my thing is, if you're going to introduce a character like that to be one of your main core characters, sibling like this, that I think it should have been fleshed out more than just a 4-issue mini. I felt like it should have been drawn out a little bit more to get more backstory to it. But like so far, it's been really good. Again, I love the art on it. I think art's been great. I would be giving this 3.75, but since we got Eternal Warrior, it goes up to 4. We currently got two books with Glad in it, and
Yeah.
which is
Good
kind of
call.
cool right now. So we were begging for him, and now we got 2 with them. And then I'm begging and praying that those thing that Milt said of the new books coming out. I'm hoping one of those is a Unity book. I'm hoping.
Wait, what are you talking about? Did I miss something?
Oh, you must have. Wait, you don't do the Twitter universe, so
Yeah,
No,
so
I'm
there's 2 unannounced books for
Three.
like later this year, at least 2. So
Well, they've
we
been
know that we're
teasing
getting
some
Exo, we know
stuff.
that we're getting Bloodshot, but then there's at least 2 books that we don't know that we're getting. But
the
we've
one
now
they teased is easily going to be
Dr.
Dr.
Mirage.
Mirage. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was clearly when, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
No, I thought so too. And I mean, like, there's a little blurb in there about like death or something like that, and it's like, it's gotta be.
She's gonna finally find her way to bring Wen back to life.
Here we go.
Okay,
Check
Sky
this out.
Lords, Killers, August to be announced, Bloodshot, October to be announced. So we got 3 books left to be announced. Jesus.
Yeah. So August is the one that they teased today because they said it's going to happen very soon. So that would be this month's coming solicit, right? At the very least.
Probably, but
Yeah, and
so
Tor pointed out they had that.
One of those has to be that image where they blocked out the 2 characters, and we're seeing like all those dinosaurs and shit drawn by one Jose Reed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, and Tor pointed out they did some tease with the flip phone and 2 aliens. Like, what the fuck was that?
Oh, I forgot all about that. The Visitors, which is what I'm hoping it is, The Visitor. I hope it's a remake of The Visitor. Come on.
Bad Eggs, baby. Bad Eggs is coming.
Oh, Bad Eggs. Good.
Visitor would make more sense, but who knows what the fuck that would be.
Angels. Come on.
Jesus. All right. So, Hoosier, do you have a? Oh no, you already gave your score for Forgotten Queen. Okay, so then we got two number 1 books. I gotta say, like, another with Punk Mambo number 1. It reminds me a little bit of going into this book reminds me a bit of going into Forgotten Queen, only with a little less trepidation, right? Like with Forgotten Queen, we're saying like, okay, this character has existed in one arc that is widely considered to be the worst arc of the title that it was from, and now you're going to give her her own book. Whereas Punk Mambo is more of an established character, so it's not as much uncertainty coming into a Punk Mambo mini as coming into a Forgotten Queen mini, but I do think that it's comparable. Now, having said that, we're also coming into Punk Mambo with a writer like Cullen Bunn, who has worked fucking everywhere, has written basically every major character imaginable. And I think that he made this a really, really fun, something that I have always felt about Cullen Bunn, and you guys can tell me if I'm way off base here. But with Cullen Bunn, I've always felt like his stories are kind of surface level, and that's not great if you want, really deep character-driven story, but it is really good if you just want a fun story to read. And a good example of that would be Venomized from Marvel. Really surface level story, not a lot going on underneath, but still extremely fun to read. And I think that while there is good character in this story, this is another book from him that is just fairly surface level and looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
I don't know. Like for me, like I read Harrow County, a little bit of that, and I thought that was excellent. And to me, that wasn't. I mean, I felt like that one dove into the characters a lot. So like for me, like I would disagree only because of that. I haven't read Venomized, and I haven't read a lot by him. And I'm trying to think. I'm going to draw a blank on it, so I'm not even talking about it yet. If I remember what I was going to say, I'll say it. But like, I love this first issue, and I thought the Adam Gorham art really, really was like, this was the perfect setting for it. And I thought there were some pages in here that really stood out. Going into like a spoiler, like the Haiti pages, like where it shows like I think it was like a 2-page spread, and you see like the hillside with all the houses and all that. I just thought it was such a fucking pretty page. I like the character a lot. So for me, like this was one of those books I was really excited about. I'd love to see more with her. Like she could pop up all the time, honestly. And I kind of just dig the character a lot. But I mean, like this is fun. Like, this is like a fun story. It doesn't take itself too serious, I don't think. If she was more like John Constantine, like I mean, like they're both British, they deal with magic, but like if she was just like more like a more serious in tone, I think that would take away a little bit of the enjoyment. But I do think that like there's a little bit more like happy good time with this and that.
Yeah, and then I think having Colin Bunn on this is pretty exciting to me. Hearing that he's going to be on it, or knowing that he's on it. Harrow County, like you saying, Josh, like that's a pretty in-depth story. I mean, I don't think that book would go as long as it had if it didn't, kind of dig in a little bit.
Hold on real quick. I remember what I was gonna say. He wrote Sixth Gun, and Sixth Gun's pretty epic.
Sixth Gun was great.
I feel like that one wasn't like surface level at all. But maybe it's just when he has to deal with like characters that are not like his own little plaything. That makes it a little bit harder. He's confined to more space when he has to write, like a Venomized or something like that, because he's probably only given like 4 to 6 issues to wrap everything up.
Right. And the one that I thought was very surface was that Regression. I know it's current Image book out right now, and I don't know what that was. I haven't read Bone Parish with Boom, but I know he does horror really well. And that's his bread and butter. He's probably one of the top horror writers out right now, which is really cool. And so like this going to Haiti is really awesome because that's the birthplace, that's the home of voodoo, and I myself having been to Haiti a lot, like I'm going to be very critical of that, seeing what it's like in Port-au-Prince, and there was some things that you don't go see stores and see a bunch of skulls hanging down on the side of the road. That's not something that's common there. But I mean, it's cool. I get what they're trying to set up. There are certain areas where there is some voodoo. I mean, I do like how they go into actually churches in this book and see that it's surrounded by voodoo, which is cool because that kind of like the way they've always said there in that culture is it's like, 75%, Christian, 25% Jewish, 100% voodoo, right? So everybody kind of practices it in a little bit. So there's a lot of mythos around Haiti with that, which I think is cool. And I like this story. I love Adam Gorham's art. I'm glad he's not going to be just completely remembered for Dead Drop.
That's what I was going to bring up, actually, was I think the last time he did interiors for Valiant was Dead Drop.
Yep. And then there was some cool
first works, I believe.
Yeah. And he had some great connections with actual like the voodoo mythology within this first issue. So I thought it was a great start to a first issue. So I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. I thought it was really strong. I was expecting it to be good, hoping it could be great. And I think that it's right on that cusp of being a great book. I don't think it's quite there, but I also think that this is issue 1, and I think it's actually going to be not the typical 4. It's supposed to be 5 issues, right?
Yeah,
5 or 6. Yeah.
It's 5 or 6 or something like that. It's not the typical 4. So, knowing that this is 1 of 5, I'm curious to see how it continues. But yeah, I do think that this is, I mean, it's a Punk Mambo book, right? Like, I mean, we've seen Punk Mambo so much in so many different titles. She's shown up in Ninjak. She's shown up in Shadow Man. She pops up here and there all over the place. And I know she's shown up in some Bloodshot stuff. And, she's been all over. And I think that it's about time to finally see her getting her own book. And I also think that, kind of like Hoosier was just saying, this is a good opportunity to not only bring in a new creator to Valiant with Cullen Bunn, but also kind of give Adam Gorham a chance at redemption for his interiors. Because, I mean, yeah, he did Dead Drop, and that was not because of his art, but for other reasons. That book was kind of universally panned. And since that book, we've seen Adam Gorham do some of the most beautiful covers for Valiant. So I've been really, really hoping that we would get more interiors from him. We finally got it on Punk Mambo, and he did not disappoint. So for me, this is a really solid book. Oof. I have a really hard. I don't know exactly where I want to score this one. I don't want to go too high and like overinflate how good it is, but I also don't want to, undersell it. I will go with a 4.5. I think that might be a touch high, but I do think that this is a really, really strong book.
Oh, I don't think that's high at all. I mean, honestly, like I really dug it. I'm going to 4.75 on this.
Okay.
And the thing that's really neat about this book is that all of a sudden, Shadow Man 13 just started blowing up like all over the place on eBay and other places. And there are spec groups talking about like Punk Mambo and talking about Valiant, which is really, really neat, So if you get the chance to buy an issue 13, do it, even if it's just to like put on eBay, because people are paying some silly money for this issue. Not even variants, just like A cover and B cover. So I'm glad because hopefully it gets a lot of people interested in the character because it is a cool character. Punk Mambo's awesome. But hopefully some of those people who are specking on this are like, you know what? Like I'm gonna read it. Hopefully they like issue 13, but buy some other stuff. Hopefully they bought Punk Mambo too.
Well,
And I know for me, I wanted to buy that 1 in 100 variant like crazy. Like I've been looking at it on eBay, and I don't own any of those books. I don't own any of the big variants. And I'm like, I want to buy it.
what I hope is that we get people reading this Punk Mambo book, getting into it, and wanting to know more about the character, and then taking that as an opportunity to go back and read Kit's run on Ninjak because she shows up a few times. Because that's an amazing fucking run, right? Like, read Lemire's Bloodshot stuff. She shows up a couple times in there, and I think it's worth reading the whole thing. I really hope that this is a doorway for people into the Valiant universe.
Yeah, I agree.
Doorway into the dead side.
Fuck yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to be right there. Like, I'll split the difference with you guys and go like 4.6. Get the middle.
4.62.
You're a fucking politician, aren't you?
No, negotiator. That's it.
Centrist.
Negotiate. But yeah, all the way around, dude. Art, again, Goran, great. Bun, so far so good. Where this brings Punk Mambo into the picture more to get more of her, I think that's exciting. And she's just got a snappy attitude that a lot of people are going to see. And I know Fred Pierce is pumped up, publisher. He says that's his favorite character. And yeah, rock and roll 4.6.
Well, and I don't blame him. She's an awesome character. But speaking of awesome characters getting books and really coming into the forefront of Valiant right now, we're finally getting Rye back with Fallen World #1. That was the book that just came out yesterday. I had actually Nick Poffenbarger, who has actually been on the show a couple of times. We talked to him a bunch about some different stuff. I think we talked to him about New Age DC Heroes. We talked to him a bunch about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when Shattered Grid was going on, which is a crazy fucking story that he turned both Josh and I onto, I believe. He's really cool, and I actually haven't talked to him for a little bit, and he messaged me like, dude, I fucking read Fallen World. It's so great to have Rye back. And it totally is. And while I will say I liked the book, I didn't necessarily love it, but there are a lot of strengths to it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I didn't love about it was maybe the art. I liked the art. I didn't love it.
It was inconsistent, I thought.
Yeah, but I like it, the story, just because for me, I've been a big fan of the whole future storyline of Valiant. And I've been sitting here saying for the longest time that we needed a character, we needed something going on with it, just so that it's not forgotten. So I'm glad that they found, I'm glad they pitched it to Dan, and he wrote it. It's kind of cool to see like where the world is after like 2 years ago when the events of 4001 happened. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about like Father still kind of being around. It would have maybe been neat to have seen like a new antagonist, like just something new for them to have to deal with. But at the same time, I guess like in a way it is kind of a new one because it's like a new version of Father. He's got Bloodshot. But I don't know. I mean, like I like it a lot. I'm curious to see where it goes in 5 issues because I felt like one of the things that was kind of odd about the pacing on this was that the book ends with them facing off against Father and in this like bloodshot body.
Father
So
Shop.
yeah, so it's just like we would have commented in the past about how the pacing we wouldn't have seen this happen yet. We would have had a lot more things happen maybe, or maybe less things. The pacing would have been different. Is all I'm trying to say. And I just feel like here the pacing is kind of more reminiscent of like what Marvel or DC would do. But it's not bad. I like seeing how the rest of the world is kind of interacting with Rye and how people are expecting him to be. And he's trying to be like a pacifist of sorts, which I like. After everything that he's been through. I don't know.
I'm with you. One thing I want to point out is the fact that this book is called Fallen World, not Rye.
Oh,
And
I
think
know.
no, I wasn't. I don't think that you
Come
forgot.
on, Josh. You didn't see that?
No,
Fuck.
I didn't think.
I thought it was
I
Rye
didn't-
Part 2.
No, I didn't think you forgot that. I'm just pointing that out as something that I forgot to mention earlier that I like about the book is that it's not just trying to be a Rye book. It's trying to be a 4002 book. And I think that that's awesome.
Yeah. And I
Wait
like
till we
seeing
get Shadow Woman 4002.
You know what? You don't need to bring up bullshit when we're trying to have a good time, all right?
Well, it's there, okay?
I don't like
one
it. I don't like
One
it.
thing that kind of stinks about this book, though, is that like Valiant did spoil something in the solicits for issue 3, which is awesome that it's going to happen. But so if anybody wants to know, like, go look at one of the covers for issue 3. You might get really excited, or maybe you don't give a shit. I don't know. But to me, I was like, oh, this is awesome, But I wish, I hope that for the remainder of the series they keep things a little bit more under wraps, where I can have a little more like of a surprise when I'm looking at the solicits. Like, don't spoil it too much for me.
We talked crap about that 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the solicits.
Yeah,
it was pretty sad to see that, but that cover looked freaking awesome, though.
yeah.
I guess I missed it, so I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I do know that they showed a page from issue 2 way before issue 1 even came out. And the page they showed from issue 2 was Bloodshot spawning these other Bloodshot things. Like, I don't know. It was fucking crazy. And now knowing that Father has infected Bloodshot, I gotta say I got mixed feelings about that. Like, I think it's cool that they found a way to get Father into this story and kind of still have him being the villain. But that also means that we don't really get future Bloodshot, and that is a travesty.
You don't know that.
So how is the continuity going to be with Bloodshot Salvation, with that last couple pages of Bloodshot Salvation, and Bloodshot's going to basically kill Bloodshot 4002, right?
No, Bloodshot
kill the
killed
garbage
that
man.
guy, and then future Bloodshot helped him or whatever after past Bloodshot killed him. And I was wondering if we were.
That storyline's not very good. We don't ever need to reference it either.
I just want more of the future Bloodshot. Future
Bloodshot's
fucking awesome. I just don't want him to be Father the whole time.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that like Salvation will play into this because those events could have happened. Who knows when? I think they still happened in like the year 4001.
I'm glad I'm not writing this because I would just have Father going around to Rye going, Rye, I am your father. Again and again.
Yeah. But one thing I liked about this, and this was actually brought up at Emerald City by our friend Chris Anderson, was that he made it sound a little bit. He referenced it more like the Bloody Heroes from like the original Rise Zero, where like Harada always wanted Bloodshot's blood, as a way to stay immortal. And in here, it's Father, and Father's very Harada like, and now he's got the blood of heroes. So to me, like in this, I want to give Chris the credit for this because he was the one that brought it to my attention. At least the way he phrased it to me was like almost like it is like a nod back to the prior stories, like almost like a little bit of an idea from 25 years ago.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't love this book, but I do like it. I think that there's a lot of potential here. And I think the thing that it does the best, the biggest strength in this whole issue is that it makes, like I said, it doesn't feel like a Rye book. It feels like a 4002 book. And that's not easy to pull off because you have to bring in a lot of storylines. There's a lot going on in this book, and I don't think that the art is the best. I think it's good. It's just a little bit inconsistent. And but the story, the writing, I mean, the story is fucking huge. And as long as it keeps going, and I really do hope, like, I think it would be amazing if this somehow got adjusted into an ongoing.
Yeah, I mean, I would love an ongoing book set in that timeline. Because
Especially since it's not a Rye book, it's
so
a Fallen
open for
World
value,
book.
though. I mean, we know that there's future versions of all these characters,
Yeah,
and they can do a future version of Exo. They can do lots of stuff with Psyops. They can do Shadow Woman. You know, I mean, we just
They
talked about that.
could.
They could do, but I'm just saying they could do a lot of things
Right.
because they haven't had to establish a bunch of stuff yet with that timeline. It's so wide open. Where is like the Divinity at, or not even necessarily Divinity, but like where are those people from the unknown reaches of space in 4002? There's so much potential with it. So like to me, like it's probably not going to go into an ongoing, but like if they were to be like, hey, next year we've got more 4002 stuff, awesome.
yeah.
Because I feel like we haven't even got close to the potential of it yet.
Yeah, I think like a 4002 5-issue series every year would be kind of cool. Just to kind of
Or
bring
4003.
Yeah, 4002, whatever, 4003 next year, right?
Yeah.
It always changes, you know, kind of maybe time's not
We don't need to get too crazy
The
with
next
that.
book is actually November of 4002. That's they bring back Thanksgiving.
timestamps.
The humans and the Positronics come together and someone betrays somebody. It's really sad.
Dude, it's awesome that we're getting into, like you said, getting into this time period. It's more stories. That's great, and it's in a way it's an open canvas too, with some great established characters already there, and you know, who cares? You know, the continuity, you don't have to follow it as kind of as in depth of being trying to current time stuff, which I don't know. I dig where it's at, and God, I keep forgetting. Is it what's the writer's name in this?
Dan Abnett.
Dan Abnett. Yes. And then like I think Josh, you were going there too. The art wasn't all that impressive for me. Like it was okay. It was okay, but I don't know. There
I
was
want to say though that
but
Adam Polino had worked on an issue of Shadow Man, like issue 2 or 3, something like that. Maybe it was like after. Maybe it was even after that. That looked beautiful, I thought. And then I felt like I was excited for this, and then when I saw how his art looked, it kind of took me out of it a little bit.
There's just some inconsistencies. Maybe it's inking, maybe it's coloring, maybe the deadlines were rough, maybe editorial made him redo a couple of pages. Who knows? There's just a little bit of inconsistency to it. Either way, it's still good, you know.
Right.
But it is. I think you put it really well, Hoosier. There's a blank canvas here, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to get to with the fact that it's not Rye, it's a Fallen World book, because you could have an arc that Rye doesn't even show up in, and you could still have a really badass story. I mean, we've got War Mother out there, we've got a lot of other future characters, and yeah, and there's potential for so much more. Like, I mean, with all the sectors that fell to Earth, plus whatever cultures were on Earth, Abnett has shown us a little bit with the like religious dudes. And they're actually in the free comic book day book. There's a 4002 story, a Fallen World story that centers more on those religious dudes. And I thought that was really interesting. Those are new characters. It's a new concept, a new religion that's being brought into this world. And like who you said, there's this blank canvas, and calling the book Fallen World means that we can continue moving forward. I mean, Rye could die, right? Like that could happen, and you could still keep this book going without it feeling weird, because it's just a story about Earth in the year 4002. And I think that, you know, I really hope that it continues, and I really hope that we see that potential fleshed out. So I think that this book, like, the score is honestly a little inflated just because of my excitement for the possibility in the future. And I think that because, like I said, the story's so epic. So for me, this is going to fall in at a 3.75, which based on your reaction, Josh, is that low for you or what?
That's a little low, but I mean, hey, no, that's your choice. You know, I mean, like if that's how you feel about it.
I just think that
Wait, what did you give Bloodshot Rising Spirit just a minute ago?
probably the same,
I mean,
3.75.
that, I mean, wow.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about it, though, right? Like for me, okay, think about Bloodshot Rising Spirit is a Bloodshot book. It's got Elliot Rahal doing the writing, and I am biased towards him. I think he's great. Regs Morales' art on Bloodshot Rising Spirit was fucking phenomenal, in my opinion. And I think that issue was that title turning around. I think that there was some missed potential in Fallen World #1, whereas Rising Spirit did more than probably could have been expected of the issue. So I think that part of it has to do with expectations. You know, maybe if we hadn't come out of Rye always being done by Kafu and fucking Clayton Crane to now this issue with some inconsistencies in the art, if we hadn't come from this really, really well-defined, cohesive work from Matt Kint on all the Rye stuff to now feeling like a lot of stuff is up in the air. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of that context stuff that I think plays into my feeling on this book. So I can't really go a lot higher than a 3.75. I mean, you could maybe talk me into a 4, but that's about it.
And you really shouldn't have to explain your score. I mean, like you.
Well, that's what we're here to do, man.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, it's not for me to judge you. Be like, what the fuck, like. But I mean, like, for me, like, I like the story. Like, the story's fun. I love. I'm such a fucking fan of the storyline, man. Of 4001 and 4002, and for me, I just keep thinking like all the things that I want to see them introduce. I want to see like the War Corps, who like they show up, I think, like in like the end of 4001, and they break out of their sector, and like where's Sunlight and Snow at? Like, I want to see all this kind of shit. I know we're not gonna get any of that, you know, because this is just gonna be like a fight between like Rye and Galad versus Father. Maybe they snuff Father out for good. Who knows? But I would go in like at a 4.25, and I almost feel like my score is low for that. But I don't like the art very much. I mean, and that's just how it is. I mean, like for me, like the art takes me out of it just a little bit. I don't hate it, but I know like I just wish it was a little bit tighter, a little more detail, a little more consistent, like Eric was saying too. But I do like the story, so I'm excited to see where this goes from here. But yeah, we'll just see.
You know, it's funny. Earlier, I said that we're getting two books with our buddy Glad in it again, and I actually totally forgot that he was in this. So 3 books currently monthly.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Which he's running hard. He's doing his job. But I was going to split the difference again with you guys: 3.75, 4.25. So 4, but then Glad again, so you get that extra 2.5 points. So 4.25 with Josh. So got to have a little reasoning behind it. No. Dude, like you said, the art kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting just a little cleaner art. There were some pages that were phenomenal. And then like there were, I think it was that very first page where you see Rye, and it just didn't grab me the way I thought it should be in that very first page of seeing Rye in another book again, after not seeing him for a while. I was hoping for a little bit more there, but I like seeing Glad. I like seeing Bloodshot, getting this back into this, and kind of excited of what's happening in issue 3. Looks to be pretty cool. Another cool character that we have kind of liked for a while. I know I liked what happened with this. So, but
show me the cover, Hoosier.
Spoil it. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, let's see it. I mean, they already. It's not like you're spoiling
so while he's
it.
finding that, I do want to say this because you brought back some memories of Cafu and Abodo, and Abodo is like Rye, and man, like I always hate how like people will like certain companies will bring characters back all the time, but at the same time, I'm just like, can we just get a mini series of Abodo? It doesn't have to be set like right now. It doesn't have to be like in 4002. Maybe like in 3,999 or something. I don't know. Before he died, we need more stories of him because he was just awesome. Yeah, he was so badass. Like sometimes I think about like Matt Kent's work, and I'm like, okay, I like his work. I don't love his work, but fuck, I love that like 13 through 16 of Rye, where he introduced some of the ones before the current one. It was excellent work, but that character really stood out as being enjoyable.
No, it's not
Yeah,
letting me get a big image.
I
Oh, there.
would absolutely love. I would love to see an Aboto mini drawn by Kafu. I think
Yep, after.
that would be fucking amazing. Honestly.
There you go. Not the choice picture, but here you go. Take a look at this pretty image there.
Oh, I totally saw that. You thought that was a spoiler?
Well, you know she's in it.
kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just shows up out of nowhere.
Surprise, she's in the book.
Well, I mean, you would hope that she would be, right? Like if this is supposed to be about everything going on in the play, like we don't get 6 books a month in 4002, right? Like we get 5 or 6, 7 maybe books in the present timeline, and they barely get to everybody. So I mean, I would hope that they're going to make every effort to get everybody brought into this book. So I think leaving War Mother out would be a massive missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well,
what's weird is like
now bring Shadow Woman, right?
but the thing that's kind of weird about it though is like how War Mother's story ended. We'll be kind of curious where her whole story is at right now, because that book definitely ended where you would think that there would be another series to continue her tale. So I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see like where she's at as a character, whether any of that stuff is referenced or not.
Did Van Lente write her mini?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's writing Side Lords now, right?
Yeah.
Right, but that's not 4002. That's actually current day.
Yeah, I was going to say I was pretty sure that that's present day. But maybe he's still working at Valiant, doing some things here and there. Maybe we will get more War Mother from him. I'd be down.
Yeah, most anything with Fred, dude. I'll be down with anything Fred does, to be honest.
Have you guys? We can't really talk about it because it hasn't come out, and we don't really want to, spoil things for people who haven't had any opportunity to read it. But have you guys read the Side Lords #1?
I looked at it, but I didn't finish it.
Kind of same thing here. I looked at Guedes' art, which is phenomenal. Very, very good looking. So, yeah, it's. I didn't read it all, but from what I did see and the few pages I did read, I liked it so far.
It seems like it's going to be kind of a slow burn a little bit, but that's probably about all I would say about it.
Yeah.
It is an ongoing. The pre-order is a 12-issue pre-order too.
Wait, what?
Well, Fred Van Lente said that book is set up where it's like a season. There could very well be a continuation past 12 issues of the way that he's writing Side Lords. It all comes down to sales, with every Valiant book, pretty much.
Next year's you hear it here on Get Valiant. Next year's event is going to be a Side Lords Galactic Battle event. So,
Well, that'll be pretty fucking cool. And let me tell you, man. I mean, I read the first issue. There's clearly, one of the things I said about Fallen World is it feels like there's a lot of potential for huge amounts of story, really, really epic scale. And I think that not necessarily in the same way as Fallen World, because I think Fallen World did a good job of showing us a whole bunch of different storylines and starting to show us how they might tie together. And we'll obviously see, how that plays out. And then, whereas in Side Lords, I feel like it's almost kind of the opposite. Like, Van Lente has said in some of his, preview interviews and stuff that, you're kind of with these characters and you don't really know why they are where they are. And yeah, I mean, you read the issue and it very much points to there's a much bigger story at play. But obviously in the first issue, you don't find out everything of, what that bigger story is. So I think that there is a lot of room to grow this story. And I'm having read the first issue, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I do think that if you guys know what the Uncanny Valley is, I've mentioned this before. That's where I feel like Renato Gatus's art lives, and it bugs me just a little bit because of it. But it's so solid and so consistent that it's hard to complain about. But it's a solid book for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Crispy Bacon wants to talk about his new puppy. I don't know, man.
I don't know. What kind of puppy is it?
Is it a bloodhound with like a red spot over its eye?
Ah, that would be cool.
Because I'm down for that. Otherwise, I don't know. I'd rather talk about my cats. But
my cat.
No, not yours.
We're cat fans on this podcast.
Do you guys remember that movie Young Einstein back in the day?
I don't.
Somewhat with Yahoo series.
The part where he like goes into that bakery and takes away the cats that were being cooked in the pie. There's a part that's so bad. I don't know. You guys made me think of that just now.
Jesus.
You have to watch it just for that scene. You just poor kittens being cooked in a pie.
Wow. I think I'm all right.
Unfortunately, we just go.
Unfortunately, next week we do not have a new Valiant issue coming out. There will be a trade, a Quantum and Woody trade.
And
we don't have any. And yeah, Free Comic Book Day is coming up. I think the most exciting thing about the Free Comic Book Day issue is that we get the first taste of Tim Seeley writing Bloodshot, and I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Agreed.
Same here.
I agree.
All right.
That is a great point.
Well, I want to say thanks to everybody for hanging out. Kevin7, I'm sorry that we weren't able to discuss your interesting subject. Not sure why you couldn't tell us what it was, but I do want to thank Tor Jones for hanging out. I don't get to talk to that guy.
Hell yeah, Tor.
Yeah, I fucking love Tor. Tor's the shit. I don't talk to him nearly enough or see him nearly often enough. So
we're fans of Tor on this podcast.
Yeah. He did point out that Bloodhound's first appearance was the Book of Death, which I think is pretty badass. But David hanging out with us, obviously Crispy Bacon hanging out, Kevin7, some other French guy, Clem Monster. I don't know who that is. But also Hoosier, thanks for jumping on with us last second, unannounced and unpredicted. Definitely always enjoy having you around. Thanks for filling in on the last episode when I wasn't around.
How did your tour go? Did you guys talk about that?
We talked a little bit about it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll watch. So if you guys came in later, you do what I do and watch the beginning again.
Yeah. Watch it all.
Right? Check it out, Outright Geekery. It's there too.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just thanks everybody for watching, for listening. Thank you for the people hanging out in the live chat and talking with us. This is, episode 119. So next episode is going to be number 120. It's kind of crazy. We're hitting these numbers that we've been around for a while. Definitely happy to have some awesome guests on with us, and we'll try to continue doing that. I did Alex Packnadel join the Valiant Comic Fans group on Facebook. And I'm going to try to see if I can convince him to come on an episode, see if we can coordinate that. No guarantees, but if we can get him on, I have been absolutely loving Incursion. So I'd love to talk to him about that, especially since the last issue should be coming out soon. But yeah, even though we don't have a new issue coming out next Wednesday, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And
we could put an episode out next week, though.
Huh?
We could put an episode out next week, though.
Yeah, talk about Free Comic Book Day.
No. I mean, like, I sent you that interview with David Barron.
Oh, yeah, that. I totally remembered that.
You already forgot about that?
Yeah, absolutely, I did.
Talk about that. I was on a panel at Wasatch Comic Con this last week,
what?
which was fucking crazy. We just talked about David's career. Like, we did an episode. So the way it was set up was it was Get Valiant. There was a Get Valiant panel, which is crazy, right? In the middle of the mall. And I totally figured out all about this. I've been trying to block it out of my mind already. No. But yeah, they asked me to do the panel there or to do the podcast there. So we did it. And David was there as one of their guests. And so I was just like, we're just going to do the whole thing about David because who am I going to review books with? Like, I don't know what David's read. And I always kind of feel like there's things that Eric and I just do, or Eric and whoever does, that with their actual co-hosts. So it's basically just like a 40-minute long interview with David about his career, how he got started, how he got with Valiant, working on the Batman Who Laughs, that kind of thing. But yeah, we did this interview in the middle of the mall, like
Dude, that's
with
cool.
people watching. People watched Get Valiant live. It was crazy.
So really, if it's 40-year-old Josh could go back in time and tell 13-year-old Josh, dude, you're going to be in the middle of the mall interviewing big-time Batman creator, what would 13-year-old Josh say about that success?
Josh at 13 would be like, fuck DC. Okay, let me just say right now. I hated DC so much as a little kid. When I was like 16 or 17, I bought the first issue of Robin 2, The Joker's Wild. It was about the Joker fighting Batman. It's not great, but it got me into DC, honestly. But at 13, I would have been like, make mine Marvel.
Right. Well, that's
like
pretty
not
funny.
even. I'll tell you what. I mean, like my collection at 13 was a lot of Marvel. I don't think there was anything that wasn't Marvel in it.
Yeah.
Man, I was the opposite for a while. I had nothing Marvel for quite a long time, and then I finally started reading some Marvel stuff. But anyway, I don't know.
Check that out. We might have that interview next week, and we can make that as an episode since we're not around. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. Or we can talk about Free Comic Book Day next week. We'll figure it out.
I can't be on next week, so if I can't be Hoosier, clear your schedule.
Oh my goodness! All right,
you're gonna have to be on. You're just the guy now. You're the guy.
We need a third wheel.
Hey, we got somebody's got to be the guy to laugh at, so I'll take it.
We need a pivot man.
Without a third wheel, you can't have a tricycle. So
right.
What would the Eiffel Tower be without three?
Something. All right. Thanks everybody for watching, listening. Thanks Hoosier for coming on and joining us and hanging out. I want to hopefully we'll see you guys all next time, episode 120. Either way, signing off. I'm Eric Baumgard.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I'm Hoosier.
You guys all take care and stay valiant.
R.I.P. Chewbacca.
How does this go? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cripes. I don't know. If any of you out there stops being valiant even for a moment, we will fucking know.
Stop being valiant.
That's the V. We'll fucking know.